I am back doing my best movies of the 2010s decades list. And the last list I did was 2014, and this time 2013. Now I thought that 2014 was the best movie year of the last decade. 2013, however, to me, the weakest movie year of the decade. I thought it was a mediocre movie year. January through August of 2013 in particular was just rough to get through. There were a few gems here and there, but I thought there were a lot of meh, good, not great films and just some awful films that year. The fall and winter season, however, that was definitely a step up, and we got great movie after great movie after great movie, and yes, this is so much better. And like the 2014 list, I'm going to be expanding the list a bit and doing a top 15 list, because looking at the top 10 list originally, I left out a lot of good movies on that list, so I decided to do a top 15 to include those movies. And as always, to get one thing out of the way, this list is all in my opinion. If there is a certain movie on here you disagree with or a placement, that is fine. This is all entirely my opinion. And also, if there's a film on here that you've never seen and it sounds interesting to you, please check it out. I recommend all these movies. And one more thing, the honorable mentions, I have 5 in alphabetical order, and I'm going rapid fire on these. Frozen, The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, Pacific Rim, This Is the End, and The Way, Way Back. All very good movies, just didn't quite make the list. And all that out of the way, let's get into the top 15 list. At number 15 is a movie I saw in January of 2014 that was a thrilling war movie, Lone Survivor. Peter Berg did such a great job directing this movie, and this was definitely a step up from Battleship the year prior. And I'm glad with this film, him and Mark Wahlberg started to do other movies together like Deepwater Horizon and Patriots Day. Both true story movies, and I'm hoping they do another one in the future. All very good acting in this film. Mark Wahlberg got the lead in one of his best performances. And Taylor Kitsch, Emile Hirsch, and Ben Foster also give great performances. This was a brutal and well-paced movie. I cared about these Navy SEALs on the mission. All very intense and thrilling combat sequences that are both brutal and intense to watch. If you're looking for a good war movie, definitely check out Lone Survivor. At number 14, some would say Frozen was the film that brought back the Disney magic that year, but this film did it for me. Saving Mr. Banks. It was interesting to see Disney make a movie about how Walt Disney tried to get the author of Mary Poppins, P.L. Travers, to make a movie, and I thought this was a truly great film that had me interested throughout. What truly makes this movie work are the 2 lead performances from Emma Thompson and Tom Hanks. Emma Thompson is just wonderful in this movie as P.L. Travers, and she should have gotten an Oscar nomination for Best Actress. She does start off as an arrogant, no fun, stick in the mud, and you just really want to say, just please line up. But in the flashback scenes, you do start to see where she's coming from, and you do start to sympathize with her. Now for Tom Hanks as Walt Disney. Now despite that Tom Hanks is my favorite actor, this could also worry me. Would be a little worried of seeing Tom Hanks rather than just Walt Disney. But watching this movie, I just saw Walt Disney right there, and honestly I forgot that's Tom Hanks. He really captured the charm of Walt Disney, and he also looks the part, and I felt like Tom Hanks should have gotten an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. And honestly, I find Tom Hanks underrated in supporting roles like this, Fred Rogers in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and Catch Me If You Can. In leading roles, no doubt he's incredible, but I feel like he deserves more recognition in supporting roles. It's a well-made movie with great production design, and the flashback sequences with P.L. Travers that get more heartbreaking as they go on. This film also made me rewatch the original Mary Poppins. And I love Saving Mr. Banks, and I think this is one of the more underrated Disney films in years. At number 13 is a powerful true story movie, Fruitvale Station. This was the film that got Ryan Coogler, as a director, his name out there. And if you loved what he did with Creed and Black Panther, definitely check out this film. What I admired about this film is, I don't think Coogler was trying to send a message. With the tragic true story here, I felt like he just wanted to show the event as it is. And Michael B. Jordan is terrific, one of the most underrated performances of 2013. While he was very good in Chronicle the year before, this was the film that really showed his talent. The story of Oscar Grant III, the final day of his life on New Year's Eve, and how he hasn't done good things in the past, but still shows that he was a good man in trying to provide for his daughter. And the third act of this movie really hits hard. This is such a powerful movie, just so intense and just really tragic on what happened that night. This movie really left an impact on me, and I thought it was a great movie. And even if it's a movie I never want to watch again because just how much it hit me. At number 12 is a great independent movie that came out earlier that year, The Place Beyond the Pines. This was an excellent and engaging 3-act story movie. How the first act focuses on Ryan Gosling's character, and how the second act focuses on Bradley Cooper's character, and the third act on their sons. Speaking of which, an excellent cast in this movie, especially from Ryan Gosling, Bradley Cooper, Eva Mendes, Dane DeHaan. The bank robbery scenes with Ryan Gosling are incredible, just they're intense, the long takes used that are just gripping to watch. And I really like the location in this movie, just the small town era. It kind of reminded me of the small town I live nearby. It's an emotional, captivating, and engaging film, and one of the more underrated films that year that you should definitely check out. At number 11 is a great racing drama, Rush. Ron Howard may be a hit and miss director, but this is definitely one of his best films. I really love the true story based on these two racers and the rivalry they had between James Hunt and Niki Lauda. Not only are the racing scenes fantastic and the great cinematography, but the two lead performances from Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Bruhl. This is the best performance I've seen from Chris Hemsworth as James Hunt, but Daniel Bruhl as Niki Lauda really steals the show, and how he didn't get an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor, I just don't understand. Just how stern, straightforward, and observant he was, he knocked it out of the park. And I actually like that this was a mature rivalry in this movie, and how they kind of used each other to make themselves better, and how the film really focuses on them more than the racing, which was great to see. And I'm sad this movie didn't do well at the box office and didn't get a single Oscar nomination, because this is a truly great film that deserves more recognition. At number 10 is our Best Actor winner in Dallas Buyers Club. Matthew McConaughey is phenomenal in this movie and gives the best performance of his career. How gaunt he looked, how much weight he lost for the role. Now at first you don't like his character and you think he's a bad human being, but as the film goes on, you start to root for him. And not only is McConaughey amazing, Jared Leto is just outstanding in this movie. He completely disappeared in the role of Rayon. You honestly don't see Jared Leto and you just see his character. And Jared Leto has just two heartbreaking scenes in this movie that were just great acting from him. And McConaughey and Leto both won acting Oscars for this movie, both well deserved. This was a very interesting true story about a man who tested positive for HIV and how he used non-approved FDA drugs to help HIV patients. And there were also moments that made me uncomfortable in the right way. This was a well-written and interesting movie, definitely very well acted. It was one of the Best Picture nominees in 2014, and it was a really great film. At number 9, oh hey Matthew McConaughey, welcome back, in Mud. Another great independent film like Places Beyond the Pines that came out earlier in the year. Matthew McConaughey is excellent in this movie, and I'm really glad this was one of the roles that put his career in the right direction, and he's definitely out of his rom-com days. And how when these two teenage boys first meet him on this island, and how mysterious his character is, but then later in the film you find out what he's notorious for, and I won't give it away. And I thought this was a very well-directed coming-of-age film that honestly reminded me a bit of Stand By Me in some ways. Not only is McConaughey great, but the lead performance from Ty Sheridan is great. One of the most impressive young performances I've seen in years, and Reese Witherspoon also giving a very good supporting performance. As the film goes on, I really wanted to see where the story was going, leading to a very intense third act. If you have never heard of or seen Mud, please check it out, and especially for Matthew McConaughey's performance. At number 8, 2013 was a pretty great year for independent films, and this was one of them, The Spectacular Now. This is one of my favorite A24 films, and honestly might be my favorite coming-of-age film that they've done. The movie has an excellent screenplay with a great romance, one of my favorite romance films in years. That really shows since this is from the same writers as 500 Days of Summer, my favorite romance film. And Miles Teller and Shailene Woodley are both fantastic in this movie. And now Miles Teller may play this party guy, but there's also a heart with his character and he's not sure what he wants to do after high school. And I really like seeing what his character was going through and the romance he forms with Shailene Woodley's character. Just such a well-written, touching, and even funny film. I absolutely love this one. At number 7 is one of the most visually incredible films I have ever seen that was worth watching on the big screen, Gravity. The visuals in this movie are nothing short of spectacular, just jaw-dropping, some of the best CGI in the last decade. This is the best performance I have seen from Sandra Bullock. I really cared about her character throughout this movie. She has a good backstory, and if her character died during all this, I would have felt devastated. Alfonso Cuarón, just a genius director. I can definitely see why he won the Oscar for Best Director. The long takes in this movie are just freaking amazing, especially the opening one that is 13 minutes long. Alfonso Cuarón has used long takes before, like in Children of Men, and I think they work well here. Along with the cinematography, the sound, just everything has an impact. How intense and captivating this movie was throughout the 90-minute runtime. This was definitely one of the best sci-fi movies of the last decade and one of the best survival movies. Just hats off to you, Alfonso Cuarón. You are amazing. At number 6 is the ending to my favorite comedy trilogy of all time, The World's End. I love the Cornetto trilogy so much. Both Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz are some of my favorite comedies of all time, with Shaun of the Dead being my favorite of the trilogy. While not all films are connected, they do star the same duo, and the same director is involved, Edgar Wright, and this was a great conclusion that I had a blast with. I've always loved the comedic duo of Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and something that worked best here was the great change of pace for both their characters. Now in Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, Simon Pegg was more the straight man in those movies, and how Nick Frost was the silly one. In this film, switch it around. Simon Pegg gets to be the silly one, and Nick Frost gets to be the straight man, which was great to see for both of them. And I really like how this film focuses on nostalgia and hanging out with your high school buddies one last time. And I really love seeing this adventure going from pub to pub. And as the night goes on, there's this alien invasion that was just so entertaining. There were some super fun action scenes in this movie, especially the bathroom fight and the Beehive pub fight scene that was awesome. And this movie is just absolutely hilarious, from the back and forth dialogue, visual gags, Edgar Wright's fast-paced editing, and also Edgar Wright does some clever foreshadowing at the beginning of this movie to what will happen later. And honestly, with this and Shaun of the Dead, Edgar Wright is just a master of foreshadowing. What a great conclusion to the unofficial Cornetto trilogy, some of my favorite comedies of all time, and The World's End was just so much fun. At number 5 was one of the most intense films of 2013, Captain Phillips. Paul Greengrass is a great director. I like The Bourne Supremacy, United 93 is really good, I love The Bourne Ultimatum, and this would be my favorite of his, and second place would be The Bourne Ultimatum. And I feel like he is one of those directors that does shaky cam right, where it's not distracting and he still maintains the tension of the situation. And 2013 was such an amazing year for Tom Hanks, and he is just incredible in this movie. And the majority of the film, he does a great job. But the ending of this film, amazing acting from Tom Hanks. How Tom Hanks wasn't nominated for Best Actor Oscar, I just don't understand. This is one of his best performances. And not to mention, the pirates in this film are great, and I believe all of them, this was their first movie. Especially the leader of the pirates, Barkhad Abdi, who got a supporting actor Oscar nomination, which was great. All of them were threatening and menacing, and they did such a great job playing their roles. And when the pirates first start hijacking the cargo ship, that's where this movie got intense and thrilling. So glad this got a Best Picture nomination as well as many others. Captain Phillips is just amazing. At number 4 is one of the best crime dramas I've seen in years, Prisoners. Prisoners was such a dark, deep, and haunting film that I absolutely adored. This film really got my attention of director Denis Villeneuve, and I would continue to love him throughout the years with Enemy, Sicario, Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, and I am so excited for Dune this October. And he really knows what he's doing behind the camera, and the incredible cinematography from Roger Deakins. While the story isn't the most original, 2 abducted little girls and the 2 families and a police detective are trying to find them. On paper, not the most original, but the execution is just marvelous. And also what makes this movie work, the performances from everyone are fantastic. Especially from Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal. If we don't count Logan, this is my favorite Hugh Jackman performance. The emotions from anger, frustration, and sadness he goes through in this movie is just heartbreaking. And the torture scene with him interrogating Paul Dano along with Terrence Howard. Oh my god. He was incredible in that scene. And if he was nominated for Best Actor Oscar, to which he should have been, that could have been his Oscar clip. And Jake Gyllenhaal also gives an excellent supporting performance, as well as the rest of the cast from Paul Dano, Terrence Howard, Viola Davis, Maria Bello, Melissa Leo. Everyone is just so great in this film. And the great and haunting musical score from the late Johan Johansson. And the 2.5-hour runtime in this movie did not bother me. I was engrossed by this film throughout. Just a super engaging story, and I wanted to see what would happen as the film goes on until the ending. And I am also planning on doing a review of this movie before Dune comes out. And I'm planning on doing Denis Villeneuve movies from Prisoners to Blade Runner 2049 until Dune comes out. And this is a movie I am so eager to talk about on my channel, and just amazing crime drama. If you haven't seen Prisoners, watch it. At number 3, if I could choose a favorite romance film of the last decade, this would be it. Her, from writer-director Spike Jonze. Spike Jonze has been a great director with Being John Malkovich, Adaptation, and Where the Wild Things Are, and I think this is his best film. I really loved what he did with the world building in this film, the futuristic setting, and how this film has evolved with technology. And Joaquin Phoenix is fantastic, and this definitely proves why Joaquin Phoenix is one of my favorite actors. His performance in this movie just feels so real and genuine. The emotion he shows, he can be a nice guy, but also funny, but also the sadness, and you feel sorry for him. And not afraid to make him a little mean-spirited at times, which shocked me. And Joaquin Phoenix, he should have been nominated for an Oscar for Best Actor for this movie. And Scarlett Johansson does a terrific job with her voice work. The emotion she displays as Samantha, this operating system, is just amazing. It's honestly some of the best voice work I've heard in years, and it's not an animated film. I really love the romance between Theodore and Samantha. Now on paper, this movie should have been cheesy and just a disaster. A man falling in love with a piece of technology? Really? But the execution here is just outstanding across the board. The great cinematography, the great music from Arcade Fire. It's touching but also funny at the same time. Her is not only my favorite romance film of the decade, but one of my favorite romance films of all time. And now to the top 2, and I consider both of these 2 movies masterpieces, and I had a hard time just switching one over the other. And now, one of the best actor-director collaborations. And one more hint for the number 2 film. The Wolf of Wall Street. Definitely one of Scorsese's best, and easily my favorite Scorsese film of the last decade. And DiCaprio and Scorsese are just on fire. They really are a dynamic duo. This movie was just so very fast-paced, really hilarious, and just so entertaining throughout. Leonardo DiCaprio is just outstanding in this movie, and I'm not alone on this, but this is definitely my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio performance. He is just a terrible and arrogant person, and the crimes he's committing, you do hate him. But at the same time, he's just so relentless, charismatic, and entertaining in this movie. And DiCaprio just knocked it out of the park, and he should have won the Oscar for Best Actor. As much as I loved Matthew McConaughey's performance in Dallas Buyers Club, Leo should have won his first Oscar for this movie before The Revenant. And Jonah Hill is also incredible in this movie, and I also think this is the best work of his career. And this film also gave us Margot Robbie, and she is amazing in this movie. Great breakout role for her. This is by far Scorsese's funniest film. There's just so many moments in this movie where I just laughed out loud. And by far, the funniest scene in this movie, the Quaalude scene with Leonardo DiCaprio and Jonah Hill. Oh my god. This movie is 3 hours long, and it doesn't feel like that. This is the fastest 3-hour movie I've ever seen. Now I can see why some people may not like this movie, because it does show Wall Street and an excessive lifestyle, but I feel like this movie does show the negative consequences of what happens in that lifestyle, especially at the end of the film. I just absolutely adored The Wolf of Wall Street. Really showed why Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese are some of the best actor-director collaborations. And now, to the number 1 film of the year, a film I did a review on last year, and this was one of the most powerful films I've ever seen, and that is 12 Years a Slave. This was the most realistic portrayal of slavery I've ever seen, and I have no problems considering this movie a masterpiece. In every ways of filmmaking, acting, directing, story, music, editing is just A+ in this film. And a lot of credit goes to director Steve McQueen, who just did a phenomenal job. The excellent production and costume design and the long takes he used this movie worked effectively. And he pulled no punches, showing slavery in the most realistic way he could. He didn't shy away from the horrific violence of slavery, nor did I feel like he went too far with the violence or make it too unpleasant. He just showed it in the right way of, this is what it was like. Here's how horrible it was. And the performances in this movie are just sensational. Chiwetel Ejiofor is just absolutely amazing in this movie as Solomon Northup. Really glad he was nominated for Best Actor in this movie. You just feel so sorry for him, you want him to stay sane, and you really want him to just get out of this situation, be freed as a slave, and just reunite with his family again. And Ejiofor showed those emotions perfectly. And Michael Fassbender in this movie, incredible. Knocked this role out of the park. Just playing this despicable, cruel, evil, ruthless slave owner that I just really hated in this movie or just despised. Just a loathsome, disgusting character. As much as Fassbender is a great guy in real life, I just hated his character so much. That's how good Fassbender was in this movie. And this was also the breakout role for Lupita Nyong'o, and she is incredible in this movie. And she absolutely deserved her Oscar win for Best Supporting Actress. I'm glad this role really showed her talents and got her career going. She was also in The Force Awakens, The Jungle Book, Black Panther, Us, and she's an amazing actress. And there are just some incredible long takes that Steve McQueen uses in this film. There was this one great long take where Solomon Northup is lynched for a long time on his tiptoes. And watching that scene, my jaw dropped and I thought, someone do something, please. And also the scene where Solomon Northup is forced to whip Patsy, Lupita Nyong'o's character. That was just horrific to watch. I actually tried to close my eyes watching that scene. I'm like, no, I don't want to watch this. This is a slow film, but I don't see that as a bad way. I felt like it was the appropriate runtime for this film, and the ending of this movie is heartbreaking. It is uplifting at the same time when Solomon Northup reunited with his family, but also watching his kids older and he missed them growing up because he was a slave all those years was just, oh, this ending made me cry. I view Schindler's List as a realistic portrayal of the Holocaust. This was a realistic portrayal of slavery. This movie won the Oscar for Best Picture, so well deserved. Abso-freaking-lutely. And it's very rare that my favorite film of the year won the Best Picture Oscar, and I couldn't be any more satisfied with this win, and 12 Years a Slave is just a masterpiece of filmmaking. And those were my favorite films of 2013, and again, 2013 may not have been the greatest year for movies, but we really did get a lot of great movies that really did something special and really accomplished a lot. And I would like to hear from you guys, what were your favorite films of 2013, or what did you think of 2013 as a whole for movies? Good year, meh year, bad year? Let me know below. And also make sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe if you're new here. It really means a lot. I'm Jack Benner, and look forward to another movie review.